Welcome to the Social Chameleon Show, where it's our goal to help you learn, grow, and transform into the person you want to become. Today, I'm talking with Eden Meyer. She's back for round 2. If you haven't heard Eden's episode, she's on episode 41. She's a health and wellness consultant that has spent over 20 years helping people realize their potential to live a happy and healthy life. We talk a lot about that. We talk about she's got this 4 pillars she talked about here in the episode. And then also she kind of added in a 5th kind of center pillar. I've never heard of that concept. Very interesting. She calls it the emotional intelligence. We do spend quite a bit of time in there. We talk about some failure, which was kind of fun. And she shares an interesting story about a family friend that she had a hard relationship with, that she wound up being able to kind of overcome and find a new light and new empathy and sympathy for that. Very interesting. I think that's a great little lesson for a lot of us to think about, maybe learn from. But without further ado, let's welcome Eden. Eden, welcome back for round 2 on the Social Chameleon Show. It's so great to have you back around again.
Thanks, Tyson. It's good to be here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So when we were chatting earlier and stuff, you've been working on balance for wellness and in that area. Could you kind of talk us through that a little bit? What are the things that you're thinking about, and what are like maybe the core of that?
Sure. I just think about the 4 areas of our life that most people focus on, and they're in different orders depending on the importance to each one of us, but there's your health, there's your family, there's your relationships, and there's your work. Those are kind of like the 4 pillars that hold us together. And the trick is keeping them balanced. And that's really important, is to keep them balanced. And our lives are like our foundation. And I kind of look at those 4 areas as the pillars that hold up our foundation and support our lives. So, if I could expand on them a little bit more, got your family, everybody needs to feel like they belong. Family is very supportive. They can, we can go to them with our problems. They're really, very important, whether it's immediate family, spouse, children, or, more distant family. But we all, as humans, we need to feel like we belong and have that support. Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's a big problem nowadays, is not feeling that connection, even though we're more connected than we ever have been. But in reality, we're more disconnected from human interaction than we've ever been.
Right. So like you said, it's more important than ever.
Yeah.
And then we have our work or our business. Some of us have our own businesses. And that's really important, because as humans, we need to have something to work towards. We need to have, things to accomplish. And it gives us a sense of self-worth, our self-esteem, and just working with other people, whether it's your employees or your teammates, it's very, very important in our lives too. Then we have our health, and that's a big one. We're always eating. Let's make sure we eat right, and there's always new things to learn about that.
Yeah,
eating and exercise, they really go hand in hand. When we eat properly, we feel better. When we exercise, we feel better. We have more energy, but we also feel better about how we look. That helps with our self-esteem. And again, it's just, really a very important pillar in our lives.
And I think to add to that pillar, if maybe you're not even thinking about it, but the way I think about health too is sleep. Sleep is a big thing. We throw to the side. We've talked a lot about this in the show. We've done different episodes, and now we have some more things. Maybe you've heard them or not. We're doing a book review on sleep and stuff and other things. But that was one that we easily throw to the side. We won't necessarily skip meals and different things like that, but we'll skip sleep. And that's one we've got to really focus and hunker down on, is getting a good quality, and not just quantity, but quantity and quality night sleep.
That's right. And that's where nutrition comes in, and exercise. Those things help us to sleep better too.
Yeah.
And when we sleep, it's like it's like our car battery. It's recharging our batteries. Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing about that too is if you're not sleeping well, you're not going to eat well. And there's a whole lot that goes into that. And then you're not motivated or energized to exercise. And then you get stuck in that vicious cycle of not doing any of those things well.
That's right. It is a cycle. Really is. Mm-hmm. So we've got our family, our health, our work, and then the other is relationships. Mm-hmm. We have relationships within our family, but, also within our work and friends. Humans are just, we're very social, and we need that. Another way of supporting each other. And, you got to put your time into relationships too. You got to support other people if you expect that from others. There are areas of the world where, people are more secluded, and they find that those are areas where people suffer more from anxiety and depression, mental problems. So there's a lot. That's a really big thing, especially in prison and jails and stuff like that. That solitary confinement and stuff, you can go crazy, literally just insane by just being by yourself. It is something that we're just not wired to handle. Yes, like we mentioned, we're just real social beings, and we need that interaction, right? Mm-hmm. So those are the four areas of our lives. But the one that I feel, Tyson, is the most important is our health.
Okay.
Because no matter what we're doing, if we don't have good health, like you talked about earlier, it's a cycle. You don't sleep well, you don't eat well, you don't exercise, and then your relationships stink, your work, you're not at your best. Right. Yeah, I personally really feel that should be our number one. And it's hard to keep that, all balanced and strong in those areas. Mm-hmm.
It is. And like we're saying, maybe a little bit alluding to it, that's like the first thing to go, it's like, and then it snowballs from there. It's like we let our health go because we're probably overworked, and then we're probably underslept. And it's just that snowball and cascade. What is you've been in this for a bit. I don't know if we've talked about it the last time, but in that health and wellness space a lot, what are you finding? What are you thinking about? That's like the number one or a couple of good tips on making health a priority. And then when it becomes a priority, what are you doing in that to eat well and all that kind of stuff? And that's a long question. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's good. Well, I can share a little bit of my story with you. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania in the country, and my parents, they always had this big garden. Certain places we lived, there was orchards, there were nut trees, lots of berries. So we always ate really well. And at the time, I didn't realize how well I was eating. I was eating organic before people even heard of the word.
But my parents,
really. Now we hear those words everywhere, right? Yeah.
And unfortunately, those words are becoming meaningless, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the word superfoods, and it's some people have heard of them, but a lot more haven't. So we got to keep them going. But my parents, they always believed that proper nutrition was the most important, and they instilled in my brothers and I that it was key to keep the immune system strong, because it all comes down to our immune system.
Right.
And so we as parents, when we have children, we need to take on this challenge of teaching them the best that we can, because this is giving them a good, strong foundation for the rest of their life. It's kind of like a house. When we build a house, if we build it on a foundation that, maybe out of gravel, and the rains and the storms come, and next thing you know, the house isn't sitting flat and properly, that there's a fine example of the importance of building your house on a good, strong foundation. And so this is what we're doing when we take care of our health and we eat properly and exercise. And this is something that, we evolve in learning or all these things, but it's key. It's key to pass it on to our children.
What are some of those things? Like, what are the things maybe we aren't doing that's affecting that, or some of the things maybe we could be doing better that are affecting that?
Well, there's, we were talking about the good food and the exercise, and that is our health area. We've got our family and our relationships and our work, and those are all great. They're pillars. They're important parts of our lives. But as our lives, as they become more full and they grow with new people and new things and new work and new knowledge, it's like our house is growing, and we still have those 4 pillars. So I think as our house grows, as our foundation grows, we need to have a center, the center pillar that may be even more key than anything. And I look at that as emotional intelligence.
Okay. Can you expand on that a little?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it comes down to really, because emotional intelligence is the key to our personal and professional life, it comes down to us understanding really what it is. And it's about understanding how our mind works. We've got 2, our mind is just so, we're learning about it all the time. It's so complex. But the 2 parts that I like to focus on are the conscious and the subconscious part of our mind.
Okay.
And there was a doctor back in 1934, and he felt that the problem with people's health is doctors were treating the symptoms of our health and not the cause.
Right.
And because of this, there was no resolution. It's like when we're sick, if we go to the hospital or the doctor today, they're treating the cause by giving us medication. But until we treat the cause, the primary cause of the problem, then there isn't going to be any resolve. There isn't going to be good health. So that's where we get into the conscious and the subconscious mind. But wouldn't you agree that we as humans, we think in pictures, we're very visual?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, over the years, we've learned what our bodies look like inside. We got your heart, all your organs, your mind, and we've learned how they function and how to care for them. So we have a visual, we have a picture, but we don't really have a visual and a picture of our mind.
Right.
And because we think in pictures, let me ask you this, Tyson. What color is the interior of your car?
Like a beige color.
Okay. Do you have 4-door or is it a 2-door car?
That's 4.
Okay. And what about your refrigerator? Is it a 2-door? Is it a 3-door?
It's a 2, like side-by-side fridge.
Okay, side by side. Okay, gotcha. So you see that we think in pictures, because when I asked you those questions, right away your mind kind of went to what your car looked like and your refrigerator looked like. We think in pictures. But the problem is we don't really have a picture of the mind. When you ask most people, a picture of the mind, they think of that picture that we know of as the gray matter, the brain.
Right.
But that's really no more our mind than our finger or our toe is.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to get a picture in our brain, in our mind, of what the mind looks like, so we can understand it, just like this doctor explained. And his name was Dr. Thurman Fleet, and this was back in the early 1900s. So he came up with this picture to help us understand the mind a little bit more.
Okay.
And excuse my little drawings, but this is the picture that he came up with. I don't know if you can see it.
There we go. Yeah. So for the podcast people, it's like a big circle and like a stick kind of body kind of looking thing.
Yeah. It's what we used to draw when we were kids. They were stick figures,
Right.
So, the top circle is the bigger circle and the bottom circle is the smaller one. And what my mentor, he tells us, he said, picture the big circle as it's like your head. Picture that as your mind. It's not really your mind, because your mind is movement, and it's energy, and it's every cell of our body. But picture that as your mind, and then the small circle as your body. So you got this stick person. Now, this picture right here gives you a little bit better idea. You got your mind and your body. Okay.
And then for the podcast folks and everybody, I'll link some of these pictures in the show notes, so it's easy for you guys to look at and see.
Oh, that's a great idea. Great idea. So we have this picture now of our mind and our body. Now, I mentioned earlier about the conscious and the subconscious mind, and there's many parts to our mind, but in this situation, these are the two that we're going to focus on. So again, we have this picture of the stick figure, and we take the brain, the bigger circle, and we're going to draw it in a horizontal line across the center of it. And let's call the top half of it our conscious mind, and the bottom half our subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind is our creative part of our mind. It's our intellectual, where we think and we figure and we create. And the subconscious mind is the emotional part of our mind. So when we think of something in our conscious mind, we think of it over and over and over again. It's impressed into the subconscious part of our mind, which is, again, the emotional. So we think of something and we think of it a lot, and it either gets us excited and we start, becoming emotional about it. We like the feeling, like if we're creating a goal, or we want to, take on this new challenge. Maybe we want to learn how to skydive or fly a plane, something really exciting like that. Yeah. It can be a little bit scary, but it can be exciting. And we think about it over and over and over again. And we start to impress this feeling, this emotion upon our subconscious mind. And so whatever is going on in the subconscious part of our mind, since our body is an instrument of our mind, the body starts to move into action. So in an instance of skydiving or flying a plane, we can become really excited about it. And so our body takes action. We start, going for lessons and all these different things. Or we can be terrified and say, I can't do this. And it stops us from taking action. So whatever we focus on in the conscious part of our mind, and it sinks into the subconscious emotional part of our mind, and then the body acts out, it creates the results that we get in our life. So this emotional intelligence is really based around emotion. So ask people, what are you thinking about in your conscious mind? What are you thinking about? What are you feeling? And it's being instilled in your subconscious mind. Is it good and happy thoughts? Are they supporting the rest of your life? Are they supporting your work and your family life, your relationships? Or are they negative thoughts? And are they instilling fear and doubt and worry and anger, depression? Because that's what's going to shoot out into the other areas of your life. So you see how this emotional intelligence can be looked at as the center pillar of our big lives and really the main support.
What are some ways we can work on that or identify it? Like what are techniques that you're using to help people with that?
Well, if you want to know what's going on inside, up here, I tell people, take a look at what's going on outside, the results that you're getting in your life.
Okay.
So a lot of people come to me and they feel stuck. I want to build my business, and I keep doing this and doing that, but it just doesn't seem to grow. Or I have a family member and she's just miserable. Every time I go to see her, she lashes out at me and nothing's changing. So, there are specific little questions that you can ask yourself.
Okay.
To say, what's going on in my life as the results, what's happening on the outside. And it'll get you to take a look at what's going on inside. Lots of times we think it's everybody else's fault, but when we take a look at ourselves, like, okay, maybe I could change this or, be better about that. And, fear is such a big factor, and it can take up a big part of our life.
Yeah, I definitely, so many things. Fear can just wreck lives and wreck so many things and really hold you back and hold you stagnant in place. Yeah. What are some more techniques or things we can do to really hone this balance? I know this balance and having this work-life balance, that's such a hot topic nowadays, and it's really a popular thing. What are some things you like to talk about in that area? What tricks, techniques, tips? What are you doing in that space?
Okay, I think we mentioned a little bit about this in our last podcast, but being more organized and planning our lives, because, these cell phones and these smartphones, they're a wonderful thing. Like you said, we are more connected than ever.
Right.
But we are allowing them to consume a good bit of our day.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us who are in business, we need those for our business, but then there's before work, there's after work, and it's, the more I'm aware of this, I look around me and I see, young mothers with their little ones, and they're in a restaurant and they get their little ones something to eat, and then they're over here on the phone and the child's trying to talk to them, and they're getting sucked up in it. They feel that it's important to be in contact with this other person over here. But it's Eckhart Tolle who tells us to live in the now.
Right.
And we have these little sensory factors. Drawn a little picture here, and they're like antenna.
Okay.
Into the conscious part of our mind. They're like little antenna, and they are hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, and touching. Those are our sensory factors. Okay. But because life is so busy nowadays and hectic, it's like a 5-lane highway. There's just things coming into our brains all the time. And then with our smartphones, and there's even more coming in. all the time. So it's hard to live in the now. It's hard to appreciate, walking down the steps and outside and listening to the birds sing and maybe a child playing over in the neighbor's yard, just enjoying those little things. Our minds are always elsewhere, thinking about the next move and the next day and the next moment. And so again, it's being a little bit more organized and being disciplined about that. So we get up in the morning and maybe get up a little bit earlier, like an hour early, and just spend some quiet time by ourselves and get organized in the day. Because when you're a mother or a father, you have little ones buzzing around. You have to spend the time with them while everybody's getting ready in the morning. Yeah. You can't ignore them. So we're making that time. So, make a little more time, just a little bit of time to organize your day and say, okay, on my lunch break from 12 to 12:15, I'm going to check out, Facebook because I want to see what my sister Annie's doing or, so it's about organization. And Sunday evening or even early Monday morning is a nice time to just chart out briefly what you want to see happen for the week. And so it's staying organized and not having all this rushing into our brains all the time. Yeah. And it allows us to devote better time to our work and more balanced time with our family and our relationships, and make that little bit of time for exercise and planning our meals. Sure, at the time, it seems like, I don't want to do this. I don't have time to do this. But if you take those little increments of time and plan and become more organized, you'll find out that things work out so much better for you. You have more time than you thought you had, right?
Definitely. Yeah. Especially if you're not waking up and the very first thing is happening is your phone is dictating your life and telling you what to do, and you're putting out imaginary emergencies or fires or whatever it is. Yeah, I like to do is when I go to bed, I put my phone on airplane mode, and it's just away, and there's no notifications that can come in. There's nothing that can come in, and I dictate when I turn that back on in the morning. So I'll make sure I do a bunch of things first. I make sure I get up and I do some different things, and I meditate and stuff before I ever turn my phone back on, because I'm not going to allow my phone and other people's agendas to disrupt my day or ruin my whatever it is. Take my time up, and especially like you're saying, I have little ones, and getting it ready for school in the morning and stuff. And there's questions, there's different things, there's all this stuff going on, and it's tough to not let your phone distract you as much as you're not wanting to. It sometimes you grab something and you're reading an email or you're reading a message, or especially if you have a business or something like that, people are messaging you and different things, and it's easy to just get engulfed in that really quickly. And that, to me, is one of the greatest tips, is keeping that phone away and you being in control of when it's on or off, when you're getting notifications, and when you're ready to get into replying to things or different things after you've scheduled out your time. I've got this productivity planner I just love. It's got a very simple agenda kind of thing for the day. Sets you up with 5 things, your most critical things to do. And I think it really helps. I'll link that in the show notes for you guys if you're interested. It's really helped me organize my day, like you were saying. That was something I was lacking in a lot. I like to kind of go with the flow and fly by the seat of my pants, and writing out the 3 to 5, 6 things I really must get done today has really helped me focus on just getting those done and not letting distractions take me down different roads.
Yeah. And so, you're raising your level of awareness, and you're making different choices. You're making better choices for your life,
right?
Yourself, so that things aren't chaotic. And like you said, as soon as you get out of bed, you're putting out fires. And I had a friend years ago that used to live across the street from me, and she worked from home. And I called her one time in the middle of the morning, and she's like, I'm working and I can't talk. And so she made it a point in a nice way that don't call me from 9 to 5 because I am working. And so we have to draw some boundaries, even with ourselves.
Yes.
knowing what is best and to keep ourselves on track and be more accomplished, more organized. And I love that idea of that planner. You're writing down, 5, 10 things that are most important. And I've heard too of people have all these to-do lists.
Yeah.
And, they scratch off a couple things. They have all these other things that are on there and they never get rid of them. Yeah. But if you look at them and you're never getting them done, if they're not on the top 5 of your list, then just get rid of them. Just start over again. And maybe they weren't so important. Maybe they didn't need done. Maybe that closet didn't need organized right away. And because otherwise you could just look at it and become overwhelmed. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I would do like these yellow notepads, and I would just write a bunch of things down. Something come in my head, I write it down. And then, each night or the morning or whatever, I'd come over and I'd look, okay, what I got to do today? And I'd look at this list and I'd kind of go through it and be like, this is easy. I'll do this. And that's not going to take a lot of time. And this one I got to think more about. And I would just cherry pick and just the things and then each time I need a new paper or something, I noticed the same few things kept being transferred over to the next page and the next page. And I'm like, these aren't getting done because they're going to take time or they're hard or whatever it is. And I'm not putting priorities, because next thing you know, you've done a bunch of these little piddly tasks and then your day's over and you never really worked on those hard things. So when I switched over to this kind of method, taking that one critical thing and then putting down maybe, at the bottom of the list, one of those 2 little piddly things that I need to get done. But at the end of my day, when I've accomplished a lot of things, I found that just to really just knock out all of a sudden my to-do list have just gone away basically, and it's been so much more helpful, and all these things I put off for so long finally get done. It's really amazing. It's one of those weird little hacks or whatever you want to call it to just put you in this new mode of just getting shit done. It's really awesome.
And you feel so much better about yourself, right?
Yeah, especially those days you knock off I think it caps off at like 5 in this book. And I've gotten to days it's like 2 o'clock and it's like I've knocked all 5 out. I'm like, what a great day. And then you just, all right, let me get some more. And then you just feel that sense of accomplishment and productivity. And you get so high on yourself and high on everything. And it carries over to the next day and the next day and the next week. And you build this amazing amount of momentum. And it really starts to, these little small steps really start to build and compound. And next thing you know, you look back and it's like you've accomplished all these things. A lot of times you've been putting off, I've been putting off for months, maybe even years, because it was hard or it took a lot of time. And I've just noticed them just getting tackled. And it's really fun. And it just gives you that little boost of self-esteem and a sense of accomplishment. And it's really a lot of fun.
It is. Those are great points. Absolutely.
So I want to kind of switch gears with her a little bit here. What has been the best failure you've ever had? And how did you think about it? And how did you get through it? And what did you learn?
Wow. Best failure I ever had.
Or talk through a few of them, whatever works for you.
I have to say that I had a relationship, but it was with another female in my life. Mm-hmm. And I felt that person, that woman, she was just always trying to make me feel bad. Mm. And it went on and on and on for years. And I'd go over to see her and spend time with her. And I'd come back complaining or crying sometime because I was just taking it so personally.
Yeah.
And I kept learning that over and over again. I kept going through it until I really learned that everybody's in a different space. And a big part of our mind is perception. It's how we perceive something. And I could hold up a book that has, something written on it on one side and nothing written on the other. And I'd say to you, Tyson, there's nothing on this book. And you'd say, yes, there is. And I'd say, no, there isn't. We go back and forth. your perception is different than mine because you see the writing, and on my side, there's no writing. So I learned to be more understanding of people and their perception of things. It helps you to be more forgiving. And when you learn things about yourself, you're learning them about other people too.
Right.
And in turn, you know, empathy flows and you lead by example. That was always one of my things, is try to lead by example. But I still had a lot to learn about leading by example. When I going through that situation, and it just, you know, once I got it, and I got, you know, I'll be transparent here. I got it, but a good bit of it was my fault too, you know, because I was going over there with an attitude because, I just knew how she was going to act. And sure enough, she acted that way. And, you know, because that's what I was expecting. That's what I got. So when I learned about myself more, then I learned, okay, this is what, you know, she's going through, and she can only give what she's got inside of her. And I have to say that's one of the biggest things.
That's good. And those are hard to recognize. They're hard to get through, especially, you know, a friend that you're close with and you want the best for them. And you feel like that. How did that relationship end? Are you still in contact with them? Did you wind up kind of cutting them out of your life? Like, what did that wind up ending? Or is it still going?
Well, I couldn't cut her out of my life because it was a family member. But you know what? When I let go of all that crap, it got better. And we had some good talks. You know, I was always, when I was younger too, I was always afraid to make waves or upset anybody. My mother taught me, she said, when I was little, she said, you know, your name is Eden. Do you know what that means? And I said, no. And she said, it means pleasure. And you should always be a pleasure to people. And I'm like,
Wow, that's a lot of pressure for a child.
Yeah, it is, you know, and especially when I got older, I'm like, I don't want to make waves. I don't want to upset this person. So I was afraid of saying things. I would just, yeah. And then I'd go home and I'd get all upset and vent and what have you. But when I learned that it's okay to talk about it and tell the other person how you feel, then they tell you how they feel, and you can understand each other, much better. So the relationship is way better.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a great story. I mean, that just goes to show, you know, us all here that are listening, watching, and myself, it reminds me of, you know, when you, like you were saying, you walked into that, like, I'm going over to whatever her name is, you know, house or whatever. And it's like, I know I'm going to walk in. Oh, she's just going to complain about this. And I laugh. And you're just setting it up. But when you can let that go, like that is so powerful. Like, we all can learn from them. We all can do that. We all can just understand, like, this person is in this position, and I can, you know, you can choose how you want to act or react or how you want to be. That's a great little story. Like, a lot of people struggle with that. I get a lot of questions about cutting out my family or whatever, or close friend, you know, or sibling or something like that is really under my skin. And I can't stand being around these people. And that's just a great lesson right there. I love that.
Yeah, it all comes down to understanding ourselves and then understanding others. Mm-hmm. So what about you? Can I ask you that? What is your greatest learning experiences?
To me, I think the thing that I really helped change and turn around my life, I think, was when I stopped doing things for money. Like, everything I would do or think of or pursue was just for the sole purpose of getting as much money as possible. And even sometimes at kind of whatever cost it took to get that. And I when I stopped doing that, and like kind of proving that, you know, kind of mentality of, you know, I'm going to prove how wealthy I can be or how much money I can make, or in that kind of frame, in that kind of realm, it really opened up opportunities, and it really opened up my mind and different things, and took me in a better path. And I don't know how to explain it. It's freeing when you're not doing everything for money in a 100% transactional type value. And I'm kind of glad I learned that early on in life. I'd say in my late 20s, I kind of stopped trying to prove somebody wrong, or trying to, do things solely without thinking about the whole picture and the long game and different things. And it was always about short term, whether wealth or short term vanity or whatever it was. That to me is one of the big things I learned from and there's a lot of things. There's a lot of failure. There's a lot of burned relationship, burned bridges and stuff from living that way and having that mentality. And that was a big lesson, I think, in my life.
So when you do what you do now, what is your reason for doing it instead of money?
I know, I guess I love helping people, and I love watching people transform and stuff. And it's just a greater satisfaction. And also I know that in the end, in the long run, things are just going to work out for me. The more I put out there, the more good I do, the more things I do without worrying about this immediate transaction. Like, I'll get something more valuable in the end. And it might not be money. It might be a favor. It might be something, a thing, an opportunity. Like, those are more valuable. Those can be worth even so much more than even if I charge just a ton of time. Like, I charge a ton of money for my time. And even if I got all that money up front without any haggling or whatever, I know that the other things in the future are worth way more than this immediate dollar amount. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it does. It really does. And it might not to some people because they don't get that yet. But, we always, if we believe that good things are coming, or, we'll get what we need. And like you said, lots of times it'll be even better than you thought it would be. And when you were 25, if somebody told you were going to get this, when you were 25, you'd say, well, I don't really want that. But when it comes to you, it's going to be the right time because it'll make you very, very happy, whether it's when you're 45 or 55 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So it is interesting how my tastes or my values, my different things have changed over the years. I see what you're saying with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the older we get, the more we realize, the simpler things in life and relationships are so important, because that's really what makes us happy. They say you can have all the money in the world, you can have all these different things, but if you don't have, a family life or good relationships with people, you're lonely, right?
Yeah, I know very wealthy people that are lonely, are depressed, or just hate their life, don't want to be alive, because they don't have those people in their life to share it with. They don't have good relationships. Maybe they've stepped on people's toes and shoved their way to the top of the world, and they're going to spend all their money trying to get back the things that they lacked to get the money. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what is a book or something along those lines, whether it's a class or a course, something that you wish you knew about or read earlier in your life?
Oh, wow. Well, it's the course that I took for my certification to teach these things to people and to guide them. It's called Thinking into Results. Okay. And just, I know we talked a little bit before in both cases about, how our understanding our mind and how it works, and emotional intelligence, and that it makes the circle complete when we can understand what's going on in our life. And if we want to change it to make it a little bit better in certain cases and stronger, then everything else falls into place. And yeah, that's what Thinking into Results is about. So if we want to change the results in our life, we got to take a look at what's going on inside and how we're thinking about things. But I always too have to go back to this book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maltz. It's just one of my favorite, and I keep reading it over and over and over again. And he just teaches so much in there about, our thoughts and how we view ourselves, our self-image, and understanding. When we understand ourselves, and we're able to understand others a whole lot more, and the world does become a better place.
It does. And this is something you teach, or you're a part of, or both?
Well, I teach thinking into results.
Okay.
And anything I read, like, Dr. Maxwell Maltz material, it all goes together, and I'm able to incorporate that into what I teach, and it just helps people even more.
Okay, that's awesome. If people wanted to get in touch with you more and find out about what you're teaching and whatever things you have going on, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you for that?
Well, my favorite spot is on Facebook. It's My New Paradigm for Life, and it's the number 4. So
and I'll link that for you guys so it's easy to get to. You just go to the show notes for this episode, and we'll have it easily linked.
So, I like to put, regular content on there every day of just, little things like we talked about today, and supporting each other, give people a little taste of what, is my new paradigm for life and what it's about. And I'm going to be starting some webinars soon, and eventually getting into a little daily read and discussing a book, and just have people follow along. It'll be all complimentary, and they can get the book, or they can download the material, whichever book it is at the time, and read along, and we can discuss it and answer. It's so easy to do these things on Facebook now, and in webinars, and that's what I love about social media.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. If you guys are interested in learning more about Eden, talking to Eden, I will link that for you guys. It's real easy to get to there from the show notes in your podcast player or on YouTube. You just click in the show notes area. It should take you right over to the show notes for this episode. So it's easy for you guys to get there. And then, you've been on the show before. We like to do our challenges. Last time you did a gratitude challenge. I'd like to give you an opportunity yet again to challenge the audience for a weekly challenge, whether it's something about the episode or not, something to help people grow, 1%, get better. We talked about emotions. We talked about a lot of things. Anyway, whatever you'd like to challenge these people, I'd like to give it to you for this week's challenge.
Okay. Well, it kind of reminds me of what you were sharing with us before. And what I challenge everyone to do is to write down in 1 or 2 sentences something in their life that they're having trouble with. It's challenging them, whether it's with their work or their health or a relationship. So write that down, and then counteract it with, how could I change the way I'm thinking about this? And do that every day for a week. And I bet the second, the third, the fourth day, when you go back in and answer that same question again, you're going to come up with more and more things and more details, and understand yourself a little bit better.
I like that's a good challenge. And that's a thing we really need to do, is the more self-aware we are, the more we can understand ourselves, the more we can help ourselves get better, become better people, friends, neighbors, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, and all those types of things.
And I'm just very passionate about helping children, because they are the future.
Right.
And because just like you, that we love doing what we do, I think about children. And again, it's our duty, even if they're not our child, but they're a child in our life, or even just a child out on the street, and we have the opportunity to talk to them. If we can help them somehow, then it's helping to shore up their foundation of who they are. Because we can we can teach our children things, and they get to be a certain age, they get out on their own, and they'll kind of change a little bit, but they'll always come back to the strength of their foundation. They'll always come back to that. So as adults and parents, it's our responsibility. It really is our responsibility to help children to grow up to be the best that they can be.
And I think the best way to do that is set an example, be the person you want to be and you want them to be. And when they're just going to see what you're doing and they're going to follow and they're going to emulate you. If you want your children to be reading more, you should be reading more. You should be reading with them. Whatever it is, if you're setting that example, you're showing and you're leading the way, they'll follow you and you're not going to have to say a lot.
That's right. And I like that analogy of reading more. Right. And learning more, yeah, because then they'll carry that through.
Yeah, you're right. And these are the habits. You know about this as well. The most things we do are habitual. They're all these things that we just do. Is habits. And if you're setting yourself with good habits, either if you had them or didn't or whatever it is, and you're showing your kids by example and by doing things, they're going to be their habits, and that's going to become part of their daily life. So like. Personally here, I've got my, daily routine and morning stuff. I never said one thing to my son. One day he just walked in. Dad, look, I wrote out my own daily routine. I wake up, I'm going to work out, and he's got a pin on his wall. I never said nothing to him at all about it, but I did it every day, and I showed by example, and I left little hints and breadcrumbs, and now he's journaling and stuff in the morning because he sees me do this stuff. And this is what I'm saying. I want to be better, and these are the things I know that help, and I'm setting that example every day, and I'm trying to get new habits and new things. And long story short, that's what we need to be doing.
That's right. Setting examples. There's an example of a child, they're going to school and they get their report card. Mm-hmm. Okay. And maybe there's an area, a subject that they're not real strong in, or they're failing. So, they look at the report card, and the teacher looks at the report card, and then the parents look at the report card. And that system is basically judging them for who they are. But that's not correct. It's where their mind was at this specific time they took that test, but it has nothing to do with potential.
Yes.
And so by spending time with our children and teaching them and showing them that they have so much potential that we all have, it's deep seated in us, then we're leading by example, and we're really helping them to grow up to be, strong adults.
Yeah. And it's a sad thing that I've noticed and I've heard of others is nowadays, parents are turning it around on the teacher, and the child's getting a bad grade and they're blaming the teacher for it. And it's, it takes, like we said earlier, it takes a village. It's not just the teacher. It's not just the student. It's also you as a parent. And I love that because, you got to understand, like you're saying, a report card isn't a reflection of intelligence. It's just a reflection of taking tests or following the rules in that environment. Maybe your child has something that needs to be worked on. That's up to you as a parent to find out. Maybe they have a learning challenge, or maybe school just isn't right for them. And you just got to say, listen, I know, Billy, school's hard, but I want you just to try. I'm not worried about your grades. I want to see effort. And that maybe is what you need for you. But you gotta, as a parent, especially, you've got to look at, everything, the whole thing, and find out, what's going on there, and not just that, like you said, a snapshot. Right.
Because that can be carried into their adult life, and they go to, they get into their work and they're just not, succeeding. They're not able to solve problems. And it's simply because they think they're actually living in the past. They think that they're not capable of doing more than they've being more than when they were stuck back here. And that's really no way to live.
Yeah, exactly. You're just, I've always been a D student. I'm a D worker, and I'm just going to live a D style life. And that unfortunately gets ingrained in our heads, and it's tough to break out from.
Yeah. And then people, they get older and they're so unhappy, and they take it out on others around them.
Definitely. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on and make sure we share today?
I don't think so. I think we had a great conversation, Tyson, as always. And, we both love to help people, and we're sharing these tidbits of information with them. And, I'm happy to reach out to people or have them reach out to me and discuss more about our emotional intelligence and how important it is, and just different techniques and ways that we can strengthen that emotional intelligence so that the rest of our lives can be balanced and strong and happy. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I enjoyed having you on for round 2. I'm always open for round 3. Everybody, like we said earlier, if you're interested in more what she's got going on, you want to reach out, you have questions, whatever, please, if you reach out to the show or reach out to her, we'll get you guys connected. Everything's going to be in the show notes. Eden, thank you so much for being on for round 2. I always learn so much, and I really appreciate your time and sharing all your knowledge and your wisdom. It was really a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tyson. We'll speak to you again.
All right. Thank you, Eden, once again for being on the show. Really do appreciate it. Hope you guys learned something here. Hope you guys enjoyed having her on. Like I said in the episode a few times, I will link everything in the show notes for you guys, so it's easy for you guys to get a hold of her if you want to learn more. And if you want more things out of life, maybe some freebies. We all love free things, especially when they add and bring value. Check out this month's giveaway. We're always putting something together. We're always trying to get stuff for you guys to help improve your lives, help you become better people, coworkers, friends, family, whatever it is. Head over to the socialchameleon.show/pickme. Find out what we put together for you guys this month. See what amazing things we got going on. And I hope it really can help improve your folks' life. If you liked what you heard here, you want to share this with your friends and family, please do. That is the best way to support the show. Also, if you're interested on leaving a comment, good or bad, doesn't matter. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you maybe want to hear, what you ideas you guys have or different things for the show. Let us know. Leave a like and review. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube if you like the video version, or subscribing on your favorite podcast app you're probably listening to this on right now. In between shows, you guys can connect with us all week long at the Social Chameleon Show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all those fun little social media places. For past episodes and links to everything we talk about, you can visit the socialchameleon.show. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and transforming into the person you want to become.